Welcome to the latest episode of The Independent. I'm Pete Sampson, joined as always by my co-host Matt Fortuna. Today on the show, former Notre Dame quarterback and current Fox analyst Brady Quinn joins. What are we going to talk to him about? Obviously, CJ Carr. Figured Matt, if we're going to get like intelligent quarterback discourse on the show, we might as well go with Brady Quinn.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good one. He has a lot to say about CJ Carr. He goes way back with CJ and his family, has a great recruiting story from his time being recruited by Michigan with Lloyd Carr. He's also going to Michigan himself this week for the big new kickoff with Wisconsin, Michigan. I will want to hear, you'll hear all the praise you need to hear, I'm sure, about CJ Carr. I do wonder if he canvases the landscape in Ann Arbor and wonders who would you guys rather have right now, Bryce Underwood or CJ Carr?
Or Dante Moore.
Or Dante Moore, yeah. Oh, Moore
there's
never really in play with Michigan, was he? Like,
no, he wasn't. There's got to be a future story in The Athletic written by somebody else about like what was in the water in the east side of Michigan. Because to put out Carr, Underwood, and Moore basically 3 out of 4 years, like that is a ridiculous. I mean, that's like Southern California levels of quarterback production. But yeah, I feel like pretty much everyone feels like they got the right guy there. And what we've seen from CJ Carr has been probably every bit as impressive as what we've seen from Dante Moore. I mean, we had like a way too early Heisman straw poll at The Athletic, and Dante Moore, I think, was the winner for now. But
I'm glad to see that continue without me at The Athletic.
Yeah, I think it's on its like fourth or fifth person. It's been like somehow I've yet to have to do it. But
much like Notre Dame can't find a replacement for Brady Quinn 20 years later, you guys can't find a replacement for me running the Heisman straw poll.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Brady had some great stuff on Carr. And also a little bit on just kind of where he feels like this team's going. So that will be a little bit later in the show after Matt and I talk about the news of the week and look ahead a little bit to Boise State and do some business, starting with Home Run and Pizza. They're one of our newest sponsors. As in my lifestyle, where I've got youth soccer one night, youth volleyball another night, basketball is right around the corner. Home Run and Pizza is a bit of a lifesaver for dinners. Easy to put together, healthy, great pizza. It is a friend of the pod and a friend of my freezer.
Yeah, Pete, at the end of a full day of college football where I forgot to eat because I'm watching every game and covering them too, I could house an entire Home Run pizza all by myself. Grab it out of the freezer, and in no time, I can catch up on what I should have eaten during halftime. A fun fact also about Home Run In is that they are actually the original tavern-style pizza, the OG of cutting pizza into squares, real Chicago tavern style. Growing up in Chicago, that's how you cut pizzas. Thanks to our friends at Home Run In Pizza.
Well, I mean, looking ahead to this weekend, I think it was probably more interesting in January when Boise was coming off the college football playoff, and perhaps less interesting after opening week. I mean, if you thought Notre Dame got off to a rough start to the season, if you watched the South Florida game, I mean, that looked like in Notre Dame rough starts parlance, that would be maybe Georgia Tech 2007.
South Florida.
Or it would be South Florida, which I don't know if you watched that game live, but I was like, oh yeah, they're showing Jonas Gray's fumble return for a touchdown. Awesome. That was a good time.
Yeah. Boise State fans really don't like me because I got on them for that game. And I hate the overrated label we put on things, especially in college football. But I just feel like, oh, who's going to be the group of 5 this year? It's got to be Boise State. I didn't do any homework on it, but it's Boise State. They got blue turf and they're fun, and they beat Georgia 12 years ago. So let's pick them. Like, I look, they were a great team last year. I will die on this hill. I said it all last year, and they were killing me for it, but I'll still say it. Like, the idea of Boise State being a 3 seed, like being ranked above the Big 12 champion and ranked above the ACC champion, even if it was only Clemson last year, it was just nonsensical to me. Like, they literally benefit from brand bias. Like, and credit to them. Like, it's really hard to build up a brand in Boise, Idaho at a group of 5 program, but they've done it. And they do play really good football. They have a lot of big skins on their walls, but I just thought it was asinine that they were the 3 seed in the college football playoff last year. And people are going to say, well, it wouldn't be this year. No, but like, they were still ranked ahead of the Big 12. Like, Arizona State was good. They should have beat Texas. You saw Boise State against Penn State. Penn State didn't even play well, and they beat them handily. Like, it was a waste of everyone's time. And by the way, if Arizona State's a 3 seed, that's an Arizona State Penn State game in Arizona, which I think is very spicy for a quarterfinal matchup compared to what we got with Boise State and Penn State in that game. But they're a really good program. This is they had a note one of only 3 or 4 not repeat matchups, but matchups of teams that have been in the previous year's college football playoff.
As just both like these teams Texas and Ohio State.
Yeah, or Washington, Michigan. Oh no, Washington, Michigan last year was not that fun. But yeah, this was it's different. They have a PSA in there. I actually did not know this, but I'm going to say it. It says, "Don't sleep on Boise!" ! That's because there is no Z in our name. The correct pronunciation is Boise and not the often misstated Boise. So I apologize for all the times in the past and in the future that I've made that error. But it should be a fun game. It was originally going to be the Peacock game. I'm not sure how NC State
is it. I think it still is, right?
No, NC State is. It's the green game.
Oh, I think they moved it around. Yeah, it is maybe just a green.
They did move it around. Yeah, I green for Boise State. I don't know how I feel about that.
A bit odd. Yeah, but
I like that more than I like Navy being at night. But that's like a contractual obligation.
I'm over the green jerseys at this point. When and where they wear them, I don't really know.
The ones they broke out for Ohio State 23, I thought were awesome. Yes. And then they ruined it with the white pants last year. But if they go with them all again,
for Louisville.
Yeah. But Louisville, I guess, with that home schedule is probably as big as it got. As far as opponent there at Notre Dame Stadium. So I was fine with them wearing that. The old green jersey, I didn't like at all. You couldn't see the numbers from up high or even on TV. It was really when the numbers were dark.
You know what? We should have.
The announcers hated it.
Gotten into this with Brady because the USC green jerseys from 20 years ago are my all-time favorite ones.
Those are cool. Yeah, I like those.
They were this is the right color green, but also the right color numbers. Because they definitely have had some where you can't actually see what you're supposed to be watching. Can't tell who anybody is. But anyway, Boise, which I definitely have mispronounced many times. It's not quite nearly as fun as like calling them Southern Cal with USC because they're like, please don't do that. I'm like, we're just going to do it anyway. Please make a note on obvious shirts. But anyway, after that USF game, they rolled through Eastern Washington, had a close-ish game against Air Force, and then really destroyed App State last weekend, which may be another brand bias. Like, well, that had to be a good performance. It was App State.
They hired Dowell Laggins as their head coach. Bears fans.
I don't even know who that is.
He was a Bears OC a few years ago, and he was the OC at the other USC or the real USC last year. I don't know what we're calling them now.
Yeah, so they definitely have figured it out because against USF they didn't look like a coherent football team. You have to be doing something right to go 51, 49, 47 with your scoring offense. So it will be a little bit more of a test than Arkansas maybe was, but I thought Arkansas was going to test Notre Dame, and they did for about 5 minutes. Like I thought without Leonard Moore, the secondary would struggle. And, it's interesting sort of, and I'm writing about this for tomorrow or for Thursday at The Athletic, but just like, did the secondary get better? I'm pretty sure that they did. The stats kind of tell whatever story you want to be told, though. The eye test I thought was much better. Statistically was better, but I think they gave up 5 20-yard pass plays, which Marcus Freeman talked about during the week. But on the other side of that, they're still going without Leonard Moore, which is a not insignificant personnel miss.
They had the performance they needed to have. And was it perfect? No. Was it a little frightening the first couple drives? Yeah, I would think so before you realized Notre Dame was just superior in pretty much every way, shape, or form that game. But they needed it. If for no other reason than Marcus Freeman doesn't have to get up there Monday and basically talk himself, through a therapy session of why things are bad and why they'll get better. And because our comments are not filled with fire ash. In fact, someone said extend ash Saturday night to us. And I imagine other podcasts and Notre Dame-based media dealt with similar reactions or lack thereof after beating Arkansas. By the way, I know it hasn't been the smoothest start for Notre Dame, just 2-2. It's bad when you lose a game when Ted Cruz is there rooting for the other team because his track record is horrible when it comes to supporting teams in Texas. And it's bad when the other team you beat says, that was so embarrassing. We got to fire our coach. How can we lose to Notre Dame like that?
Many coaches. I think the defensive performance was a fireable, offense, and
he got fired too. Yeah, well, Bobby
all got their walking papers after that one. That was. I
wish it was before. I want to see Bobby Petrino. Like, my phone has been blowing up with people from Louisville right now. Like, oh my God, this guy again. Like, what do you want? Like, we got all the stories. Like, it's hilarious. Like, arguably the most hated guy in college football got ran out of town at Louisville and Arkansas, and he gets round 2 at both schools. Like, what's next? The Atlanta Falcons again? Like, it's insane.
It is bizarre. And I don't know if I think I probably said this on the weekend podcast. Like, the people at Arkansas seem so nice. I don't understand what their infatuation with Bobby Petrino is, who does not seem so nice.
Petrino and Calipari being the two faces of your like. Well, it was Petrino and Patino, so I guess that makes sense in some ways. But that will be a fascinating experiment to watch unfold the rest of the year. I wish we could have got it a week earlier, but it is what it is. Yeah. They also they would have saved a lot of money if he lost 3 more games, but they were like, no, we're done.
That bad, I guess. As far as Notre Dame this weekend, I mean, as far as interviews this week, Jaywan Sider came in as the assistant coach of note. And then I think we talked to Tay Johnson and Mark Zachary, I think maybe for certainly the first time since the season started for both. But both were, and this was sort of the story that I wanted to write, and I asked both, so this whole playing zone thing, because they both reference you come to Notre Dame, you want to play man, it's it's not the saying is deny my man, not deny my zone, that, and they both were look, playing zone physically actually is a lot easier, but the mental part of it is a lot harder, and I think it's kind of an interesting. Well, why did we go this way if you're Notre Dame's defense? We're going to do the harder mental thing with a young secondary. And will they be better for it long term? Probably. Will the season survive those learning curve, bumps? I don't know. We'll see. But it was, they both talked about how, when you're playing zone, essentially you got to know every receiver on the field. You got to know what they're doing. When you're playing man, you just got to play defense. And they're like, yeah, that's a lot easier. You can't do it all the time, but it's a heck of a lot easier than playing zone 8 or 9 different ways. Feels
unnecessarily complicated when you put it in that frame. So We'll see how that unfolds against Boise State. By the way, got the right stat here. Only a third time a non-conference bout between 2 returning college football playoff participants. So I guess, Ohio State, Texas would be one. Michigan, Washington would not be one. I'm not sure what the other one is. Also, Boise State is the number 1 in winning percentage at the FBS level all time at 76.7%. Notre Dame is 5th at 72.5%. So, battle of the Titans, clash of the Titans at the FBS level this weekend.
It definitely has a little bit more of you can find some good stats to make this feel like a marquee game. It just, Boise is not. Speaking of missing it by a week, I would love to see Notre Dame and Ashton Genty on the same field.
Sure.
That would be awesome.
I'd love to see Ashton Genty and Jeremiah Love on the same field.
Oh, God. That would be great. Yeah, we're not getting that. Dylan Riley does not strike fear the way that Ashton Genty did, although he is averaging 7.5 yards per carry. So, they do sort of the 3-back rotation thing. And we have a running joke on the Notre Dame beat where you lose a star player. Oh, we're just going to rotate. We'll replace him that way. Lose Manti Te'o. We got Dan Fox and Carlo Calabrese. We're just going to rotate. Howard Cross and Riley Mills will just rotate 6 defensive tackles. Rarely works out the way that I think coaches want it to, but you don't really have another choice. But I am interested to sort of see Notre Dame's defense. Can they kind of build on the good stuff last week? Because there was a lot of good stuff. It felt like it probably passed the eye test better than it passed the statistical test. So maybe this weekend they can pass both.
They're averaging 520 yards of offense and have thrown for more than 300 yards in each of the last 3 games. We forgot one other connection. Safeties coach Cody C.
Tyler Stockton.
That's right.
Yeah.
So welcome back, Tyler Stockton. He's had himself
like the Jaden Mickey connection there. He won't play in the game.
Is he out? It's not questionable.
Yeah. It's I think their head coach said he was out. Like he'll travel. Or the plan is that he will travel, but won't play in the game, which is unfortunate. But that's that is college football for you. I don't know. Is there anything else about this game that's incredibly interesting to you? I mean, I'm also kind of CJ Carr at some point. It's not going to play well. I don't know when it's going to be.
I mean, you could say that was week 1.
Yeah, I suppose.
Will he go a game without an intentional grounding penalty? What's he got 4 this year?
He's got an interesting intentional grounding vibe to him.
Yes.
And we haven't had enough interactions with him to be like, ask a what's up with that question.
Just
but
won't go down. Yeah.
I'm just like, what's up with that? Just take a sack. It's not helping, but yeah, maybe he can get out of the week on that. And it's Notre Dame has done such a good job of spreading the ball around that last week was one of the rare. I mean, you know how it goes with media. It's like player X gets 6 catches, player Y gets 0 catches, and then we're asking like, how do you get player Y more involved? Last week there was no like, how do you get player Y more involved? They're all really involved. It was kind of the rare perfect game from that point of view where like everybody who you wanted to see got touches. That's hard to do, but as you know, Brady, we talked about this a little bit. I just think the diversity of Notre Dame's pass game is something pretty unique in my time covering the program.
I'm trying to find Boise State's record against power teams. They have 19 wins since 1996 against ranked teams. 96 is when they became an FBS program. I don't know if Mike Sanford listens to the pod, but it'd be good. He could have been a good. Well, no one's better than Brady Quinn, but he could have been a good guest to preview for this week's and to tune in as well. But yeah, it makes me nervous in the sense that maybe we're a little too calm after the Arkansas obliteration / like Boise's kind of like we got them right where we want them. Not that I don't think they're going to win this game, but they get up for these games again. Like they won every game last year except the Oregon game. But like the feather in their cap last year was we almost beat Oregon. And Oregon at the end of the year was not Oregon in week 2 or whatever they played. It was a completely different
they would not have almost beat Oregon.
No, I don't think they would have. So, they hold their own in these games. I mean, shoot, that Penn State game's the first I can think of where, well, I guess you count South Florida too, but where they got absolutely blown out. Like they always play up to their level of competition. Again, what they've built there, I think, is absolutely incredible. But I think they've built it so big and so good that it's like they get the benefit of the doubt that more traditional blue bloods, no pun intended, would get. But it should be an exciting one. Like there's a couple questions here about the fan turnout. It'll be interesting. I mean, I remember when they announced this game, like they told all their beat writers the day before and they said, don't announce it. We're going to have a big announcement, but like you're all going to South Bend next year. And it was like huge for them, like this is a major, major game.
I was on a radio show this week in Boise and they referenced like just 3,000 or 4,000. I was like, really? Like I thought, I can't remember what their turnout was for the Fiesta Bowl last year against Penn State. I thought it was good, but I wonder how many of them will make it. I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely once in a lifetime for Boise to come out here. It's not happening again. So
playoff.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe they'll be back in December. But yeah, it seemed like the enthusiasm for it was high. Although I think the way that the season has started for both teams, it put a damper on that to some extent. But
I love my 2 favorite quotes of Marcus Freeman this week. Again, far different tenor in this week's press conference than the previous couple of weeks. He had a reference to, you guys give me crap all the time for loving up those offensive linemen. I don't know anyone who's giving him crap for loving up offensive linemen. I think, if anything, the media, us, love the offensive linemen a little too much. And then I forget who was asking, but mentioned a player in garbage time, and he just cut him off. Said, "Please don't call it garbage time to me."
Yeah, that was just Jack Sobel from Blue and Gold. It's like as soon as you say it was a good question, but as soon as you say garbage time, that's all the coaches. It didn't even matter what was said before you said garbage time because all Marcus heard was garbage time.
But have you seen his new commercial for Factor Meal? Yeah. Is that new?
I did. It popped up on my Instagram feed. I was once a Factor subscriber. They should sponsor us this show since we're big into like meal prep stuff.
Yeah, they should. They can afford us, clearly. I saw it. I had what was the last game? It was BYU Colorado, the game, whatever the like late old Pac-12 after dark game was on. And it came on late in that game, and I was like half asleep. I'm like, is that Marcus Freeman? And so I look it up. And Google gives you like the AI result first. It was like there's no connection between Marcus Freeman and Factor Meal. So I'm like, all right, I'm really confused right now because I know I just saw that. And then Freeman himself posted it on Instagram, I think yesterday. And I was like, see, I knew, like I was not delusional. I thought I saw that. It looked a little out of place at 2 a.m, but like, man, good for him.
Yeah. Well, we can take care of our own business before getting into the Brady Quinn interview. Thanks to our friends at Roback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Promo code Irish for 20% off your first order. I've seen more Roback stuff around Notre Dame and Notre Dame Stadium this year than ever before. So hopefully you guys are taking advantage of that promo code. It's Irish at Roback.com for 20% off your first order. Hoodies, polos, quarter zips, whatever you need, Roback.com's got you covered.
Thank you to our friends at Obvious Shirts, OBVIOUSSHIRTS.com. Great pod merch on their website, t-shirts, quarter zips, hoodies, crew necks, and much more. Thank you to our friends Obvious Shirts for being a great partner and friend of The Independent. Without further ado, let's get to the main guest of the hour, Brady Quinn.
Welcome to the show. You remember him as your all-time favorite Notre Dame quarterback, and you can see him on Fox's Big Noon Kickoff. Brady Quinn, thanks for being with us. It's kind of an interesting quarterback time around Notre Dame right now. I think we went from optimism around CJ Carr to like, holy crap, this is happening. So I think we all watch him and think like the game looks a little different to him than other quarterbacks. So as a quarterback, can you explain what's that different? What is it about watching CJ Carr where you're just like, man, there is just something a little extra here?
So let me first off by saying thanks for having me. But beyond that, I'm getting to the point where I'm old enough now where like, I don't know what your demographics are who listens to the show, but trust me, I don't think I'll be remembered quite as much. Like it's crazy when you go on these college campuses, you see these kids. And like, the USC crowd this past week, they're like, who's Matt Leiter? Are you Matt Leiter? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I was like, he's got way better facial hair than I do. So I appreciate you saying that, although it tends to be a short-term memory for many of the fans out there.
Well, I mean, we may be talking about a quarterback now that bumps you off your all-time favorite quarterback. So,
yeah, no, look, and I would say this to answer your question. I've known the Carr family for a long time. His grandfather recruited me. I kind of got wind that, he was a pretty darn good quarterback. And, for my various jobs that I have, I keep up with high school recruiting. And I knew that there was an interest from Notre Dame. So I probably started watching him kind of like too soon in high school at Saline. And right away, you could see all the elements of how I would describe that he has that like it factor. And how I would define that is, he's been raised to play quarterback in a manner in which he is not just dropping back and reacting to what's happening. He understands what the defense is doing. He understands the weaknesses of that defense, and he knows where he wants to go with the football. So there's that element to his game that I think that's why when you see him out there, he looks so poised. He looks so confident because he does all of that the right way. And then you throw in the element of his physical tools. His mechanics are flawless. Like from the time he was in Saline, and again, Matt, I've talked to Pete probably more about this. I think Pete knows my feelings on how I feel about CJ more than most. And I've said some things publicly, but when he first decided to go to Notre Dame, and I've told him this, his mom this, I was like, if you stay long enough, he's going to break every record I ever had. And he will be up for the Heisman. He may win the Heisman. He'll be a first-round pick. That's before he's done anything. And honestly, like, not to go into the weeds too much, but I was hoping he would start last year. And I know there's a lot of things that go into that, but I feel like he was the type of kid when you come in early, but also knowing what type of player he is, the mental aspect of it combined with the physical, I think he could have gotten the job done. And I think you now see what opens up this offense because of the vertical passing game combined with two of the best running backs in the country, and then how those things work hand in hand, which is what makes this offense so dangerous. So I've been a huge CJ Carr fan for quite some time. And I'm glad that, everyone else is now kind of seeing like what was kind of always there, or what that opportunity always was.
I remember at his commitment announcement, they immediately had you surprise him via video, I think on CBSSports.com, if I'm not mistaken. We all kind of expected at that moment in time that was where he would commit. I'm sure you had a heads up to it. But what was that moment like for you, just emotionally, and seeing at that time kind of the peak of this guy's rise, firming up his commitment to Notre Dame?
I mean, look, I think everyone knows, like, I love my alma mater. From the collective standpoint, starting that and going through all of that to, trying to do whatever I can to help out. He was just different, special to me because of, what I kind of saw from him as a player, knowing their family. I knew he was going to come with all of the right things that you're looking for from a leader, that you're looking for from a student athlete at Notre Dame. And I knew he was going to be prepared for it. Like, there's never going to be a time where I feel like the moment's going to be too big for CJ. And he's battled through a lot in his life. And so I think he's also got the perspective of someone who understands, the importance of the game, but it's not everything. And with that, I think he plays out there in a manner that's, kind of free. And I would never confuse him with gunslinger, because I think he's a great decision maker. And he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, or seldom does, I should say. But I think there's an element of freeness when you see him out there playing. You're just like, yeah, this is what he's supposed to be doing. So there was a little extra excitement when he committed, when that was a done deal, only because I kind of understood the trajectory that he was on. And I understand like being in that position, how much that changes then Notre Dame's trajectory, especially considering all the talent they have on defense, all the talent they have on the O-line, tight ends, wide receivers, running back. Like, this is kind of, to me, one of those final components that you look at and say, okay, like, they can make a run to win a national championship. They have a guy who we're going to be talking about in 2 years being drafted in the top 10.
It's fun. Matt referenced this commitment ceremony. I was actually in Saline for it, and you and I were texting about it because I was sitting right behind Lloyd Carr, and I think you were like, "Hey, tell Coach Carr I said hi," and so yeah. I did, and he's like, "Oh, that's the one that got away." So yeah, I don't think people maybe knew. I didn't really know that relationship you had with the Carr family going back to your time coming out of Dublin.
I was committed there. Michigan was the team that I was very, very close to. Scott Leffler was the quarterback coach. Was a big fan of Tom Brady. He had just obviously went, through all of that. And it was a program that, growing up in Columbus, Ohio, I kind of knew what that meant. I'd probably never be able to go back home again. But at the same time, I understood how good that program was. I grew up during the John Cooper era. So I watched Michigan be on the better end of Ohio State for a large portion of my childhood. And it wasn't until Jim Tressel got there, and really they won the national championship soon after he had gotten there. And then kind of that, full court press came on towards the end. So ultimately I felt like Notre Dame was the best place for me. But there was a moment where I was really close to committing in Lloyd Carr's office. My dad was with me, and we met Bo Schembechler earlier that day. And he got my dad all juiced up, to go back in there and in Bo Schembechler's words, go back into Columbus and kick those Buckeyes' ass. So my dad would have signed right there for me if he could have. And I told him I wanted to wait. And fortunately, things worked out for the best. But I always had the utmost respect for the Carr family, for Lloyd Carr as a coach. That game always was bigger than any other game to me, for a lot of the personal reasons too behind my recruitment.
I brought this up on our post-game show Saturday. I'm just curious, from your shoes as a former Notre Dame quarterback, you've had good moments, you've had some moments I'm sure you regret. Do you ever put yourself in the shoes of Kenny Minchey right now? And were you hearing the same stuff out of camp that all of us were, which was like, Carr's kind of a turnover machine. Kenny might actually win this. Because I'm sure in Kenny's mind, he's like happy for his teammate, but thinking that could easily be me right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is Notre Dame. Like, they're going to have talented quarterbacks who are sitting waiting for their opportunity too. And that was a lot of the conversation where Kenny kind of has a little bit more of an athletic element to I think the way in which he plays. And a little bit more of a creative style. Some people might feel like he would have been a better fit for what Mike Denbrock wants to do. But I think when you look at how the offense is operating, you're like, no, like this works too. And my thing's always been, with a quarterback battle, eventually once you make the decision, guys, they've got to understand their role within the team, and they've got to understand that, it presents an opportunity for them to get better. Even though they're not out there playing, they still have the opportunity behind the scenes to continue to keep proving themselves and waiting on the opportunity. And look, Kenny Minchey goes in last week. There was a great deep ball. And I'm sure there'll be moments too where he has to come in and help out this football team. So hopefully he understands his importance to this team. And, in today's day and age, you never know what happens in the future. But, I look at Steve Angeli last year in the semifinal game coming in for Riley Leonard, and everyone from Penn State that was around me was like, oh, we got you now. I was like, just wait. I was like, this guy's a better passer. I was like, he's going to take our 2-minute drive down there and get points. And so I know as soon as he started completing passes, they're like, oh, all right. I was like, yeah. I was like, we've got guys who are waiting for their opportunity, who are very capable of starting and playing for Notre Dame.
If you could nerd out for us on Carr for a second, like some of the throws he's made this year, I mean, put the no look at Miami aside. That's like kind of a different thing. But like some of the throws where you're like, man, that he sees the game differently than – maybe even a 2 or 3 year starter would. Like, what are some of the throws that kind of come to mind first for you?
Well, I think you look at like the Reardon throw up the right-hand sideline, just kind of layering it, putting it in a spot where it's like either Reardon or no one's else's this past week. Like that's one that kind of stands out. It's just kind of a big boy throw. You look at the other one that was up the sideline, I think earlier in the game. Those are the sorts of throws that you're sitting there saying like, not many guys are able to throw that accurately down the field. But it's also the little things. Like there's times when I watch him and his eyes and he goes through his progression. And I think the easiest way for people who are listening or at home to understand how fast guys process is just watch their eyes and their feet. He gets to his second, third read so fast. And he resets in a manner where he's ready to throw and ready to throw an accurate football. And that's what is really impressive about his physical attributes is, fundamentally, like I came in as a 2-sport athlete. I was playing baseball, football. I pitched at one point and caught. So, from a fundamental standpoint, like it was nowhere close to as far as long as where CJ is. And I think that goes for a lot of these kids. Like they don't get to school anymore and like learn how to throw a football. For the most part, like it's refined. Like they have that aspect down in their motion. There might be some subtle tweaks, but you look at these young kids and like Dante Moore's another kid who showed out, who was also a kid who was being heavily recruited by Notre Dame. You look at his motion, you look at how his mechanics, and you just go, my God, like these kids look like they've been doing it forever. It's because they've had that private quarterback coach. They've had either their mom or dad heavily invest in them, being able to understand how to throw the football with the proper mechanics. And in some cases, they may have, specified on a sport early, and you see the benefits because they become much more advanced at a much younger age.
Is there anyone you could say is unequivocally better than him right now? Better than CJ Carr? I mean, Dante Moore comes to mind. I'm not saying he's better, but is in that conversation.
I wouldn't take
Fernando Mendoza.
I wouldn't take anyone over CJ.
Who are his peers?
He's a redshirt freshman. He's a redshirt freshman. Yeah. Like we're talking right now. You're talking to a guy who was like, I wanted to play as a true freshman because I think he was ready. Now it's that's for another day, another conversation. But like, I have a true belief that like we would have ended up in the same spot last year if he was our quarterback last year because as good as Robbie was running the football, he's not as good as Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price. So when you're taking the football out of their hands, even though he's going to be effective, you still aren't utilizing like everything else out around the passing game. And obviously it's no secret the passing game struggled last year and that wasn't a strength. Well, it's a strength now. Like people have to worry about Malachi Fields and Faison and the rest. And obviously Eli, he's continued to come on the tight end position. Like we have legitimate threats. We've had legitimate threats. And we now get to utilize them because we've got a guy who's got that sort of talent as a passer from the pocket and even outside the pocket when he extends plays.
I had this question. This is more about the threats. I think this was a Troy Aikman saying is like your passing game is only as good as your number 3 receiver. And like Notre Dame hasn't had a lot of good number 3 receivers. Like sometimes they don't even have a good number 2 receiver. But this team, I feel like.
Well, hold on for a second.
You can send 5 guys out and you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, they've got a ton of depth, ton of talent at the wide receiver position. I would say though, if you include the tight end, you get 2 receivers and a tight end, like you do a lot with that. Fair. You know, so it depends on how you look at that third option. But no, he's right. I mean, a passing game has to have a couple of guys that you're putting to one side, and then someone else to be able to isolate from time to time. And in particular, you know, again, this team has a bunch of different weapons, but. Like I always think the importance of a tight end is understated a little bit in college football because things have gotten so spread out. But I think you can see the effectiveness at Notre Dame, the ability to run the football, using that tight end to block, but also the play action off that, the drop back passing game off of that. And Eli obviously has showcased that. So I definitely think you can say your passing game is only as good as your third receiver. I think you can throw in a tight end as part of that passing attack though.
You can only choose one to go to New York. CJ Carr, Jeremiah Love for the Heisman ceremony. Who's it going to be? They're both in the same ballpark right now, odds-wise. I'd say it's Carr because I think it's a quarterback award, even though he didn't win it last year.
Yeah, but I think Carr's, because Jeremiah's still got another year, right?
I mean, he will not be taking.
Yeah, I don't think technically, yeah. I mean,
no, but he is draft eligible, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I would say Jeremiah because I think CJ's going to have his turn. But when you're the quarterback at Notre Dame, you're probably going to get that opportunity. But I don't know that anyone who watches film and watches Jeremiah play doesn't look at him and say, hey, he's maybe the best back in the country. Although I will be quick to say, I don't know many people who watch Jadarian Price and don't maybe come up with that same conclusion. Like, everyone hypes up the Penn State running backs, Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen. They're very good backs. I don't think it's even close to what we have at Notre Dame. And I think they stand out like by themselves. And look, when draft day comes, like we'll see that. Yeah, like that's how we'll see from the talent evaluators. But from everyone I talk to, like that's how a lot of people see these two. So I'll throw Jadarian Price's name as part of that list. I know he's maybe not on the odds on there, but hey, man, he makes his impact every time he gets the ball too.
Maybe Jaywan Sider was a secret to all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was interested as you watched Notre Dame's offense evolve from Miami to A&M to Purdue to Arkansas, and I get it, like the competition of the competition level, talent level, the defenses they face has gone down as their production has gone up. But like, when you look at the Miami game, I sort of view it as like I sort of got where they were coming from there. How good is Carr under fire? We don't know. The offensive line, I thought, really struggled. But like, where do you think the offense started to where it's gone today? Like, what do you think the biggest gains they've made have been?
On the offensive line. I mean, again, you kind of pointed out the pink elephant in the room. Like, obviously, they're not playing Miami's defensive front, which may be the best defensive front in the country. I was thinking about this before I came on today. Like, how different would those two games have gone had they opened with Purdue and then they played Arkansas or vice versa and then played Miami, right? And then played Texas A&M. I always wonder, if that would have looked a little bit different to allow that group to not only mesh and gel together, but gain some confidence, get experience working with CJ Carr in the heat of the battle. Because I think that's a big thing. And I think like what the past 2 weeks have shown me more about this offensive line group more than anyone else is they responded. I mean, they could have sulked. They could have, felt bad for themselves. And maybe that's a little bit because they feel like their back's against the wall and what they have to do to get in the playoff now. But that group up front, the way they've improved, you can sit there and say, well, they played lesser competition. Yeah, well, they beat the crap out of them. And they've done exactly what they're supposed to do. And from the run blocking to their pass protection, they've made those strides and improvements. And they haven't allowed like the Miami loss or the A&M loss to beat them a second time around. So there's tougher games ahead, but I love the growth that the offensive line has made just in these first 4 games. And I think there deserves a lot of credit to Coach Rudolph, a lot of credit to that group together to help make those strides. Because ultimately, if you want to win a national championship, we can talk about Love, we can talk about Price and CJ and all the playmakers. You have to win in the trenches. Like the best teams are so tough up front. And go look at Ohio State's defensive front. Go look at Caden Curry, how tough he is off the edge. Like that's what you're building towards, I think, if you're Notre Dame's offensive line right now.
Brady, Mike Denbrock was on staff when you first got to Notre Dame, albeit in a far different role. I'm curious how you've just seen him grow as a coach and evolve over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, he was the tight ends coach. Obviously, we always had great tight ends during my time there at Notre Dame. Anthony Pisano, John Carlson. Those are two of the guys that really were, the main pass catchers. Marcus Freeman as well, the tight end, not the head coach. Who from time to time I'll send a text to, and he'll be like, "Man, wrong Marcus again." I'm like, "Damn it!" I always got to check the area code on that one. But from watching what he did with Jaden Daniels, and once Jaden got in the NFL, then you kind of saw how special he was. But being able to kind of, for me, just watch it adapt from, what they needed to do last year, the early loss to Northern Illinois, and then you see the offense continue to grow and evolve. And I thought he did a tremendous job of not putting Riley in positions where he really, it wasn't going to excel. They catered the offense around the personnel and how that makes it go. And I think that's ultimately the best compliment you can give an offensive play caller, is being able to adapt the offense around what you have. And I think that's the dangerous thing about this year's group, is you have a quarterback who you can give the reins to. You can see the checks. You can see the things that he does at the line of scrimmage. You can obviously see what he does in the passing game. You can trust him to create and make a big throw, make a big play. And then you've got playmakers everywhere. So I'm really excited to see what this offense evolves into, and part two, because of how he goes about calling plays and really creating the offense around what they have. I mean, the throwback screens have been absolutely spot on, perfect timing, dialed up every time he's called them so far this year.
Last thing for me, and we've exchanged messages about the defense a little bit. Through 4 games, especially after the way they play. I mean, they got better last week for sure. There's no question about that. How good do you think that group can be? And I'm asking that in the context, can they be good enough for Notre Dame to make noise in January?
I think so. I mean, obviously, they want to be playing their best football come November, December. Bottom line is, with a new defensive coordinator, you knew there was going to be a bit of a learning curve and a feeling out process too. I mean, as a play caller on either side of the ball, you don't know how guys are going to respond in the heat of the moment in big games and big atmospheres. So as much as they're learning about his style and how he's going to call things once they get an end game, and even how they make adjustments, he's learning about them too. How are these guys going to respond after they get punched in the mouth? Are these guys that I can rely on to stand up and be able to respond? So there's elements of that I think are at play early on. And again, going back to if you play Purdue and Arkansas to start, how different are we talking about this defense, right? Especially once we saw how good kind of Miami is this year. I think then you go, oh, okay, they're pretty darn good right now. And probably the same thing. So I think there's always going to be an adjustment period. I'm still curious to see, how he ends up evolving to put his stamp on this defense. I think we all looked at Al Golden and said he was going to play a bunch of man. He was going to bring a lot of pressure in a variety of ways. And he wasn't going to overwhelm you with pressure in the sense of bringing a ton of guys. He was going to bring 5, and you didn't know where the 5 were coming from. And that was what made it so difficult for protections and opponents to figure out that scheme. Haven't really seen that so far. And I believe, Matt, you probably tweeted this out, a picture of the blitz percentage for Cincinnati so far this year, which has been extremely low, which probably has something to do with a little bit of the talent they have there and everything else. Might be an apples to oranges comparison, but I would just say this, give it a little bit of time. I mean, I do think the biggest test eventually will be USC. Just having watched that team, the playmakers they have, how he goes about trying to eliminate Mekhi Lemon, it will be a big deal because that young man could, catch any football in a crowd. He's just a really, really good player. So there's still some tests ahead, but I think they're getting their feet underneath them and getting their confidence back. Defense needs swagger. Defense needs to feel the field's tilted in their advantage. And I think we're starting to get there, but I don't know. I definitely don't think it was there the first 2 weeks. And I think it's starting to build to that point now.
Well, it wasn't me. I didn't even realize there were 2 Monday Night Football games on last night. So I sat down on my couch after putting my kids to bed. You mentioned USC.
Yeah, sorry. Someone tweeted it out. I was like, all right, this is apples to oranges right now. By the way, how much pressure can you bring if you don't feel overly confident about your offense? Right. Being able to keep up the firepower with, Cincinnati struggling to score with a backup quarterback.
We'll get out here on this. Who have you given more heat to? Matt Leinart for USC, chicken out against Notre Dame, or LeVar Arrington for that whiteout on Saturday night?
Well, LeVar, he worked Monday. He took today off, which, I mean, look, I've been to Happy Valley. I know it's a tough place to get in and out of, but I'm My God, dude, the game was Saturday night. It's going to be Wednesday before you're back in LA working. Like, something's wrong with this picture. I gave a lot of crap to Matt, although he's sensitive about it. He's sensitive. Now, it's odd because
USC people want to play the game. USC fans, I feel like they don't want to.
Oh, no, it's not just Matt. I mean, I've talked to their athletic director at length. I mean, I've talked to other alums and people at length about this. That is a very hot button subject. I haven't talked to Matt as much about it. Obviously, I'm talking to Jen Cohen more about it. She would probably tell you that. We've had some spirited conversations. So, and I love Jen. I think she's one of the better athletic directors in college football. So I do have faith that her and Pete will figure this out. Look, you got to recognize the fact that my whole thing is like, you made the decision to go to the Big Ten, so you put yourself in this position, right? If you're going to complain about the time zones, travel, everything else. That being said, the entire college football world is changing. And I'm not saying that we're going to change the history, and I'm not advocating for this, but I do think we're going to get to a point where if we want to play the game, we may have to do it in a way that's not the tradition. Like, we may have to change the tradition. And that stinks. But I also think that might play to our advantage. I mean, think about it this way. We go out to there in Thanksgiving. It's not like they ever come to our place when it's snowing or cold and bad weather out there. Like, they always have the advantage of playing in nice weather. They come out early in the season. We go out there late in the season. It's like, well, that plays to the advantage of Southern California, not us. So, look, I would say if we want this thing to stay alive, we probably have to be open to some of the changes, the tradition of how that's going to look, what it's going to look like, and we have to be okay with that. So I hope they extend it. I hope it happens, but I probably gave more crap to LeVar. Only because he wanted everyone to take Arkansas this week. Yeah. And I told him, I said, look, I'm taking the Ducks and the points. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but I was getting them at 3.5 at a hook. So I'm like, you guys can still win by a field goal. And he gets way more sensitive because, to his credit, LeVar is very involved at Penn State. He's doing a lot of stuff with NIL.
Kids on the team.
Yeah. So there's his daughter cheerleads. There's a lot of investment. He's taking the Oregon Trail just to get back and forth across the country to get there. So trust me, he's very invested. And so he gets a little frustrated about things.
Glad to hear that LeVar made it back safe and sound. Didn't have to fjord any rivers.
Well, not yet. I mean, he's probably in Albuquerque at this point on the Oregon Trail. Hopefully he's rationing his food portions.
Dysentery and whatnot could be a challenge. So, all right. Well, Brady, we appreciate you making some time. This is Brady Quinn, your favorite Notre Dame quarterback for now. We'll see how much longer
give it a couple years. Give it a couple years. So.
Yeah, and good luck at Michigan with Big Noon this weekend. Maybe somebody will confuse you with Tom Brady.
Well, I mean, I've had that before where they're like, Brady, like Tom Brady. I'm like, no, he's had way more facial work done than I have. So I can't make that claim, but I'll take that as a compliment. I'm more curious if they're going to let Portnoy in the stadium because he wasn't allowed in there last week at Champaign. And
really?
It is Michigan, which I feel like they're not opposed to bucking the trend of letting Portnoy in. So
he's their biggest donor right now, or not? Well, Larry Ellison's their biggest donor, but one of their biggest donors right now.
Larry Ellison's wife. Yeah.
Fair enough.
We'll see. All
right. Thanks again, Brady. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Go Irish.
Welcome back. That was Brady Quinn. We thank him for joining the Independent. Lots of great stuff in that conversation with the Notre Dame great. Before we get to questions and a recap of the interview, wanted to remind you all to continue to subscribe to the Independent. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, here on YouTube as well. Leave a 5-star review, a nice comment. Appreciate engaging with all of you guys over the course of multiple seasons. Subscribe to The Athletic to read Pete's work. Subscribe to The Inside Zone to read my work. And we'd like to also thank our friends at DraftKings, the rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back. You think you know the game? Put your knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. With live betting, rivalry week boosts, and more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to own every Saturday. Notre Dame's line against Boise State is up to 20.5 right now. You can bet that on DraftKings after you download the app as well. And here's something special for first-timers, new DraftKings customers. Bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code INDEPENDENT. That's code INDEPENDENT for new customers. Get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Man, I didn't think we were going to get into LeVar Arrington's travel schedule in that interview, but that was a lot of fun.
He was a game day guest picker, so he had a lot on his plate. LeVar is he was when I was a student, like I need another voice for the story. Let's just call LeVar. He always picks up and he always gives you like the greatest quote ever. Usually like inappropriate, and we couldn't actually print them in a school paper, but Fair. He was awesome.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun interview with Brady. I think that it got to the heart of like when people talk about CJ Carr and they're like, he has his it factor, I was like, well, what the heck is that? But I thought Brady did a good job of kind of explaining what separates Carr from almost everybody else.
He also was a lot more forgiving, I think, of USC, both as a team this year and in regards to the future of the rivalry than I would have expected him to be. I don't know. My feeling on whether this will continue or not seems to change by the week after conversation after conversation. I do get the sense, and I would imagine Brady knows more than me and you, especially given where he works, like his encouragement or his like openness to trying something different makes me think that could be in the cards, like gives me some encouraging signs. I will say this though, and I haven't seen this available anywhere. If you Google it, you could see some places say, hey, the look ahead line for Notre Dame USC is 10.5. I've never been more sure about anything in my life than Notre Dame's going to beat the living hell out of USC in a couple of weeks. And if I'm Marcus Freeman, and we were talking about garbage time earlier, I'm leaving my starters in. I am pouring it on those guys. And the minute Lincoln Riley or someone over there bitches, you say, you know what? You don't like, you could play us next year and beat us. And that's that.
Yeah, it's got some Michigan 14 vibes incoming. Maybe not at that level.
But their head coach,
I think it will be a pour it on moment for Notre Dame. And I've talked to Brady about the USC series before, and I think that even he's kind of like, all right, if you had to move it around, we can move it around. Like he doesn't.
I've heard Notre Dame has become much more like engaging and amenable to like, all right, what are we going to do here?
I think that they sort of talked we'll play you anytime, well, maybe not. They'll play you anytime, but not anywhere. And I think that they're more apt to lean into the anytime now than maybe they were 6-9 months ago.
They're going to say 6-7 months ago. But that's
apparently that's out. I was told on the way home from soccer practice last night that 6-7 is no longer a thing.
Wow. Right as I still wasn't getting the hang of it, but right as I became attuned with it. I mean, I did not think. I'm sure I've said this on the show. I thought USC was massively overrated, even with that 4-0 start or 3-0 start. No, 4-0, right? I picked I picked Illinois to beat them. Illinois led the Big Ten in sacks allowed. They gave up just one sack to USC and ran it down their throat pretty much at will. So, I'm just not like. Yes, Mekhi Lemon is awesome. Jacoby Lane, when healthy, is awesome. They can throw the ball with the best of them, and that's a legitimate, thing to worry about if you're a Notre Dame fan. I think that defensive line has not really gone to tee off much this year, and that's a game where they will have the opportunity to do that. Yep. And I don't think USC is stopping anything that Notre Dame does offensively. But still 3 weeks from now. Like the week 2 bye, just like
Leonard Moore's ankle getting better.
Yeah, it should be better, but if it's not better by then, that wouldn't be good. Let's get to questions, shall we? Archer 00 Arrow. You guys are crushing it with guests lately. Thank you, Archer. We got, Fox this week, NBC last week.
We had to get Jordan Burnett on maybe for USC week.
Yes, I imagine he'll be there on the field for the night game. We get Aaron Taylor to get CBS so we can get the 3 main networks all covered. Aaron's been a friend of the show. Most of these are looking forward to Brady Quinn. Jay Carr, again, don't think you're related to CJ Carr. The offense has been legit in 2005, 2015, and 2025. Can you imagine what the 2035 offense is going to look like? Mind blown emoji. So
I thought about this morning. I was like,
I'm sure you did.
Don't they have a great offense once every 10 years? Because then I was like, oh, that's a little depressing now that you put it in those terms.
Well, my mind was on 28 because they just announced right as we were starting the show today that the 2028 college football playoff championship game for the 2027 season will be in New Orleans. It'll also be on January 24th, which I'm assuming is Martin Luther King Day, but like that just sounds really far away. But Carr does have 3 years of eligibility left. Like if he doesn't win a natty this year or next year or the year after, or no, next year. Yeah. I mean, he's got 3 years after this year, right? So he could win it in 28 and come back for more if he wants to.
I think if you could make Notre Dame a deal of you get him as a 3-year starter, take that in a friggin' heartbeat. Forget the 4th year.
Yeah, you take that. No questions asked. Chris Avila. Boise State looks like a shell of themselves from last year. I mean, they did in week 1. They've looked pretty darn good since. Now they haven't played. I mean, Air Force is a formidable opponent, but that USF game too was kind of like a tragic comedy of errors, not unlike Notre Dame's USF opener in 2011. Now that doesn't excuse losing as badly as they did, and I think USF is a really good football team this year, which they weren't in 2011. But I think they'll bring their A game this week. I do. I don't think it'll be enough, but I think they'll play well. Eric Fasano, what's up with this, man? These gents need to get hair salon sponsor. Epic. Well, we had Brady Quinn on. Is that not good enough for you?
Yeah, it was a little kind of a high-end hair guest for sure.
Sticks and Stones Golf. Agreed. BQ and Mike Monaco in the booth would be perfect. My answer is Pete's annual survey.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Brady is every other year I kind of put in an NBC. Who do you want? Trico and Quinn is far and away number 1. Unfortunately,
Jason Garrett's not number 1.
I get a lot of anyone but in those answers, so no, doesn't make the cut.
I think I've said this to you, but like there have been 2 Peacock games this year where Paul Burmeister and Phil Simms have done it together, and Paul Burmeister and Yogi Roth, who's also awesome and now doing NBC, I guess, did the Wisconsin-Maryland game. Paul Burmeister, outside of Tirico, I think is the best play-by-play guy that NBC has. And Phil Simms has both won Super Bowls and called Super Bowls for CBS. And they've had this duo. They had this duo doing a Friday night Peacock, Illinois, Western Illinois game. And they had them last week doing Iowa, Indiana, which is a good game, but it was a Peacock 3:30 game. Like, how there are people smarter than me in those jobs, I assume. How does that duo, like Phil Simms, yeah, you called 3 of Tom Brady's Super Bowls. Go to Western Illinois on a thing you got to pay to watch.
That feels like I don't have any insight on this, but that feels like your NBC Notre Dame booth team next year, right? It has to.
It should be. I mean, yeah,
I like their A team with Ian and Todd. Like,
yeah, I like those guys. I think Todd. Or you said Ian. It's Noah.
No, sorry.
I call myself too. They're good. They're very good.
I think that they do a great job. It feels big. I think Paul and Phil would be awesome. That would be a great pairing for Notre Dame home games.
So would Monaco and BQ, although I don't think
that would be a good time.
Monaco was almost the radio announcer a few years ago, and wasn't his fault. I don't want to speak out of school, but I always stick up for our friend of the pod, Mike Monaco, because I think he's really good and he's got a lot of shall we say not great ACC football lately. Although that Georgia Tech Wake Forest game was a barn burner last week. Trying to understand some of these. Josh Scoresby, better odds of happening. 1, Al Golden is back as DC next year. 2, Kenny Minchie is a starter for Wisconsin week 1 next year against ND. I don't see a scenario where either of those could happen unless I'm missing something here.
Short of injury.
Injury, yeah.
But yeah, there's no injury that's going to bring Al Golden back as defensive coordinator. So yeah,
he's probably going to need a job next year, though. And Notre Dame might need a defense coordinator. But I still don't think
maybe. I mean, God, we just went on about how Bobby Petrino is getting these like second tours of duty. Why not Al Golden, a much better person? I'm going to speak this into existence. This is another thing I have no insight on. Kenny Minchie and Clark Lee together in Nashville next year.
Where? Nashville. Okay.
Oh, yeah, in Nashville.
Actually, that makes sense because he's from there. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that would probably be a pretty good look there.
You don't think Diego Pavia's got an 18th year of eligibility?
No, he's moving on with retirement.
Jay Carr again. How many Boise fans are expected to travel South Bend? I expected a lot this offseason. Maybe not as much now, but still expect a big chunk. The way they announced the game last year, and I'd have to go back through my emails. I'm pretty sure like they sent out emails like, here's how to apply to get tickets now. Like it was such a big deal. And again, I don't want to speak for how big their traveling fan base is because I'm not entirely familiar with them the way I am with, Big Ten and SEC schools, but I would imagine it's going to be a lot. No?
I think it will. I was surprised when I went on radio and they said like a few thousand. I was like, that's it. Because I don't know. I don't know why you would travel to any other Boise State. Like, who did anyone go to Tampa? Probably not. You're going to Notre Dame, so. And I'm assuming their fan base is fairly cordial and they will get along. Everyone will play nice together on Saturday. Like, I think it should be good.
A couple of questions here about green jerseys. Andy Rasta, or we could wear them multiple games a season. I don't know. I really like the green jerseys and still have an old dark green jersey from the Brady Quinn days. Sticks and Stones Golf adds green versus SC doesn't sit well. Maybe not this year's SC, but I don't know.
That's how the green jersey started.
Yeah, like you want it for your biggest game. And honestly, like for this year's SC, I actually would do it because it might be the last time.
Yeah. I remember when they announced it for Boise State, I'm like, there's to be a typo. Like,
yeah,
didn't make a lot of sense.
I don't follow. They had the bad greens for that 18 Florida State game, which preseason looked like it was going to be maybe okay, and then wasn't. That was the Brian Kelly
for Cal.
They did. Drew Pine's
first win.
That's correct. The bad green jerseys, yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's some sentimental angle here. I don't know.
Sarah McGuire, I'm actually not a fan of the blue field. To me, it looks amateur. Maybe I'm the only one, but whenever I see a home Boise State game, I switch the channel. I'm not in agreement with that opinion, but I certainly understand it. Now, they've done a really good job of making it uniquely them. And making us all understand exactly what it is we're watching. I'll take that over. Was it Eastern Washington who had the red field?
Yeah.
That one I cannot watch. Like my eyes literally just hurt while watching it. Not that I'm watching much Eastern Washington football, but it works for them. I mean, it would be a cool place to see a game, I imagine.
I think it would be fun if Notre Dame played there. That would be a good time. But yeah, I'm with you. I feel like they're better than the blue turf now. Like, guys,
right.
You're a bigger deal than that. Like, it was like Sarah McGuire mentioned, kind of kitschy. I agree. They don't need to do kitschy anymore. They're just good. I
would agree. Archer 00 again. Don't let Vatek hear that disrespect. Presumably in response to the Boise. We need Tim Murray on here to tell us how to pronounce Hawaii the right way again. But yeah, Vatek
started.
Used to be Vatek and Got. Remember, it would be the score bug would always be Vatek and Gatek when they play, and I feel like they finally got away from that. But yeah, I've never heard anyone say Gatek. I've heard people say Vatek, and it doesn't sound well. Where are we here? A lot of jerseys. Hold on. Oh yeah, here. If you had to get rid of Jay Carr, if you had to get rid of one for good, what would it be? Gimmick jerseys or new football logo? Freeman stopped wearing it after the 0-2 start. LOL. He did.
What would I get rid of?
White pants for sure. Out of what you did.
I don't have a huge problem with the white pants.
Oh.
I would say, and they sort of have gotten rid of what I'm fine with green jerseys. What I would dustbin to eternity are the Shamrock Series alternate jerseys that they've done over the years. Those, without exception, have been terrible. There have been some that have been like, but like, do you remember I think these were an all white kit. They wore it at Michigan in 13 or 11. It was like an Adidas.
Yeah, when the refs wore the Nick caps and all that.
Yeah, that was good. I really liked
that. Was good. Theirs were good. Michigan's were horrible because they had no numbers on the front. Remember?
Yeah, those were terrible. But yeah, I just think I mean, the jersey, I don't think time will look fondly back on the Halloween costume Yankees jerseys or the ones they wore in Indianapolis or like the old time Rockney jerseys that they wore one time. Like those are just like, it feels like kind of a trying too hard thing. Although, to be fair, as we were talking about all whites, the alternative jerseys for Vegas were phenomenal. And that was the number one Shamrock Series jersey. So maybe they should just wear that one in future. Like, God knows what they're going to do next year with Cheese and Lambeau Field. Like, it just could be a disaster.
I didn't even think about that for next year as far as what they would wear. I mean,
so you can see the 3D dimensions of like the cheese in our helmet. Like it's really an homage to Lambeau, who went to. There's some Notre Dame connections there.
Please tell me you just came up with that on your own, and that's not.
I just came up with
information. Okay, thank God.
If I see Oak in the press box this weekend, I'll bring it up and say like, "Hey, just have you thought about this? The cheese helmet could be a good idea."
I'm trying. Actually, nothing's worse. Speaking of cheese, than the Packers' white helmets. Now you got me like thinking about like all the different Shamrock series. The Vegas ones were good. The white ones when they played, I think in Dallas, were good.
Those were good.
They wore white against Maryland, which was like Care Bear uniforms. Did not
those
care
were good.
Those. I like the Yankees ones because I'm a Yankee fan and because I like seeing how upset it made everyone else, but I wouldn't like.
Oh, those ones that played against Al Golden in Chicago.
Those were good. The helmet was a mess, but the jerseys
the helmet ruined it for me.
Oh yeah, they got killed for that, but I thought the jerseys themselves were good. The helmet ruined it. The Indianapolis one was terrible. The Rockney ones were fine because like on TV it really didn't look that different from what I can recall. And last year's I did not hate last year's. Everyone seemed to. The all navy.
Oh,
like the Gothic font.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Those were good.
Can we cover them all?
Yeah, so maybe just like home, you can just rotate between last year's Gothic font and the Vegas ones. Scrap everything else.
Got to play more games in Vegas. Hey, title game's there in 2 years.
Come on, CJ.
This is a good one. Stephen Blackiston. Tinfoil hat here. What if Bobby P sandbagged the offensive play call to complete his coup? I've heard of crazier things happening in college football. Crazier things involving Bobby Petrino in Arkansas happening.
This is why it's like.
Well, that's why he took.
Pete, why don't you think the defense got better? It's because I'm pretty sure Bobby Petrino was sandbagging the whole time to make Chris Ash look good. I
don't think it was to make Chris Ash look good. This isn't my sourcing, but I've heard other people out of Arkansas say like, yeah, Sam Pittman was forced to hire Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
Bobby Petrino's not going there to be a good soldier. He's going there to get the job. And even in the release, firing Sam Pittman, they said Bobby Petrino has expressed interest in the job and will be considered.
Yes.
Usually it's like, no.
Brutus Bobby Petrino.
So yeah, we shall see. Andy Rasta. Not sure I would immediately grant an extension, but I would at least let this section of the schedule play out before we make a judgment on Ash one way or the other. Touche, Andy. Touche.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think I said this on previous pod. Like Notre Dame has 3 seasons in one. First 2 games were 1 season. The 5-game stretch we're in is the 2nd season. The last 5 is the 3rd season. If Ash comes out of the 2nd season and it kind of looks like a mishmash of Purdue and Arkansas, they're going 5-0. And at that point, I'm not saying that I would be like Broyles Award finalist Chris Ash, but I'd be like, you did enough that you got Notre Dame to a point where they should absolutely blow everyone out in the month of November. And if they do that to finish 10-2, then okay, we're talking.
Yeah, and then we'll have the same conversation at the playoff game saying, was it a mirage or did they actually get better? Because the competition will be greatly enhanced. Six and Stones golf again. Kiss my Ash, as in keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but I get what you're saying, and I tend to agree with that. Andy Rasta again. I was fully on the fire Ash train, but I am also willing at this point to see how the team plays. I would agree. Oh, here's a good one from Chris Avila. The new logo is jinxed, and I respect that. I haven't worn the shirt after our 2 losses. Hey, I put this thing up after the second loss, and they're 2-0. So
Could
I
be.
feel like I'm the only person in America who did not have a problem with, independent of wins losses, who did not have a problem with the new Leprechaun.
It's fine. It's kind of a nothing thing. I get the you're the Fighting Irish, not the Running Irish. So
but there could be a fencing one. They're going to do one for
fighting motion. Yeah. I guess we'll see if the other ones come out or not. Is there going to be a basketball one? Will they have a sweat headband on? What? How is that going to work? These are important questions that I want to have answered. But yeah, it's kind of a whatever thing. There are many I think jinxy, superstitious things around Notre Dame that have taken on a life of their own, green jerseys included. I feel like the ball carrying Leprechaun doesn't need to be one of those.
Speaking of green jerseys, Derek Jankart, why can't I get a green jersey gold pant combo? Seriously. Also, when they have worn them, they don't take the extra classy step of making the ND green as well. Just silly attention to detail, UA. I think the Cal game was, it was the bad green, but it was with the dark numbers. But I believe that was green with gold pants, if I'm not mistaken.
God, I feel like they've done it, but now I feel like Derek's put me on the spot to be it was this year.
Yeah, maybe they could this year. I don't know. I have some things sound better in theory when you look at them. Oregon allegedly wore glow in the dark cleats the other night, and I did not see them glowing in the dark when they were playing, unless my mind was playing tricks on me. We'll see. Sticks and Stones Golf. I'll be there with my fam from Idaho. How big is your fam? How big is the traveling contingent from Idaho is what I want to know, because by every question here is about jerseys. All right, now we got to the Brady Quinn stuff. Not merely questions. Andy Rassa, Prophetic by Brady Quinn, Ryan Glass Productions. Brady Quinn is a class act. Chris Avila, listening to BQ, I have to wonder how long he thinks Carr will stay at ND before bouncing to the NFL. Well, he's got another year. I don't think you're concerned with quarterbacks, or really anyone should be, will they leave early for the NFL? It's, will they leave for another team who's going to give them more money? I don't think Carr will, but that's the way I would think about it. Harold Eustace, Brady Quinn is a great American. Sticks and Stones Golf. Thank you for not going to Michigan, PQ. Hope Brady's watching this and soaking up all the plays. Do I get to predictions?
Yeah, let's do it. You got one, or you want me to go first?
You go first, because I keep stealing yours.
Okay. I think that while I don't necessarily trust Notre Dame's defense after one solid performance, I do trust Notre Dame's offense. And I don't think Carr is going to be fantastic every single week like he has been the last couple, but he might be, because he can play point guard. He doesn't need to be the do everything quarterback that I think you sort of see elsewhere. So with that in mind, when's the next time Notre Dame doesn't score 5 touchdowns in a game? Because I think it's going to be a long time. And I think they'll probably get 40 points for quite a while. So every Notre Dame prediction from here on out is going to have a 40 in it on Notre Dame's side of the ball. So I'll go Notre Dame 42, Boise State 24. I think Boise State's decent. And they won't be firing their head coach after the game and promoting their offense coordinator. There won't be a Tyler Stockton coup on staff at Boise State this week. So I think much more highly of Tyler than Bobby Petrino. So I think Boise will play well. And I think if they play well, then they'll score some points. But I just think Notre Dame's offense is at a level right now that they will roll through Saturday. And so I'll go 42-24.
Close. I have 45-27, which is a Boise cover, but isn't over. That line keeps growing and growing and growing throughout the week. I don't even think it'll be backdoor. I think Boise will present a little bit of some few challenges offensively. And I don't think we'll have the same questions about Notre Dame's defense that we did 2 weeks ago, but I don't think things have been fixed just like that. Snap a finger. Now, Leonard Moore plays. Hopefully that number will go much further down. Hopefully, for his sake and Notre Dame's sake, he does play. Been a little surprised it's just dragged on as long as it has. But yeah, I'll go 45-27. I was thinking when you asked like who would hold them under 40. One of the two between Pitt and NC State, I think, could have a good game defensively. Even NC State doesn't seem like they're the same defensively ever since Tony Gibson left. So, yeah, that's one to monitor.
Yeah,
you don't think Stanford will?
A lot of points from here on out, I think, for Notre Dame. But we will reconvene on Saturday after Notre Dame-Boise State.
Look at that.
To recap what we just saw, how the green jerseys looked. Could we read the numbers or not? I mean, these are all big questions.
If they give up 30 points and you ask Marcus Freeman about the defense post-game, will he pull a Mike Elko and go off and say, I'm not trying to sound like someone else here, but we just
that
won
would be
the
great.
game.
I would love it if he did that. I'm not sure in the heat of that moment if Marcus Freeman's sense of humor really is like fully engaged. He might go off, but like actually he probably wouldn't because he's fairly composed in that stuff. Other than pounding the podium from time to time. But I would say I'll set the over under of podium pods at 4.5 for Saturday.
All right, you keep track of that.
All right, I'm on it. All right, until Saturday. He's Matt. I'm Pete. Thanks again to Brady Quinn for joining the show, and thanks for listening to this episode of The Independent.